Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Drew Jets Show. And with the draft literally being 2 weeks away, I decided to take a look at every position the New York Jets should address in the first and second rounds, and what we shouldn't address in the first and second rounds. Without any hesitation, let's get it started. Starting off with what we should take in the first round, an offensive tackle. The New York Jets have a glaring hole at the offensive tackle position, but luckily for the Jets, this draft class is loaded with tackle talent that the New York Jets can fill that hole with. Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic also reports that if one of the top 3 tackles is available at 13, the New York Jets will select whomever is available out of the top 3 tackles. The top 3 tackles being Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, and Peter Skoronski. Now, who's going to be the one at 13? Well, most analysts and mock drafts predict that Broderick Jones is the 3rd best tackle in this year's draft class and will be available at 13 for the New York Jets to select. And on top of that, Broderick Jones is the only top 3 tackle that the New York Jets have had a top 30 visit with, so it seems like he's going to be the pick at 13. But let's say none of the top 3 tackles are available with the 13th overall pick. The New York Jets should most definitely consider trading down because, look, the New York Jets could acquire some serious draft capital by trading down, and if they still want to take an offensive tackle in the first round, you could do that in the late teens or the early 20s because guys like Darnell White, Anton Harrison, and DeJuan Jones will be available for the New York Jets to select. And a lot of people are saying the New York Jets are not trading back because Joe Douglas has never traded back in the first round before. That is true, but he's also never had a reason to trade down. But if the top 3 tackles are all at the board, that's a reason to trade down. I could also see the New York Jets going the defensive tackle route in the first round. Now, if Jalen Carter is somehow there at 13, the New York Jets need to rush the podium and select Jalen Carter. But the chances of that happening are like 0.1%. So the consensus number 2 defensive tackle is Calijah Kancey. And quite a few mock drafts as of late have the New York Jets selecting Kancey with the 13th overall pick. And it makes sense as to why the New York Jets would select Calijah Kancey because he's the exact defensive tackle the New York Jets want. He's a bit undersized, but is insanely athletic and also ran a 4.67 40-yard dash, which was the fastest by a defensive tackle since 2003. That fits the criteria that the New York Jets want in their defensive tackles, so it wouldn't surprise me if they selected Kancey at 13, or even if they traded down and Kancey was available at wherever the New York Jets were drafting with their new first-round pick. I could see us taking Calijah Kancey. Now, I'm a bit on the edge with the New York Jets selecting a wide receiver in the first round because I feel like the position is fine as it is. But if they were to select Jackson Smith-Njigba, I'm not going to complain. Like, if they were to sign Odell Beckham Jr., I wouldn't have complained. If they somehow trade for DeAndre Hopkins or sign him as a free agent, I would not complain. The more firepower, the better. It's just I would rather the New York Jets draft an offensive tackle or a defensive tackle, a position that the New York Jets need to address in the draft than a wide receiver. But at the same time, if we land Jackson Smith-Njigba, I'm not going to complain. But as for positions the New York Jets should not address in the first round, tight end. It makes absolutely zero sense that the New York Jets would go with a tight end this high in the draft after the investments they made at the position last offseason. They signed CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin on 3-year deals and drafted Jeremy Ruckert in the 3rd round. It makes zero sense as to why the New York Jets would take a tight end in the first round. Absolutely none. I also don't want the New York Jets drafting an edge rusher in the first round. Now, I'm not completely opposed to the idea of drafting an edge rusher in round 1. It's just outside of Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson, there's no really edge prospects that the Jets should go out of their way for and draft in round 1. And I also don't want the Jets selecting a guard because just like tight end, it doesn't make sense. Now, I haven't seen multiple mock drafts having the New York Jets selecting a guard in round 1, but there have been a couple, and it just doesn't make sense. Both Lincoln Tomlinson and Elijah Vera Tucker are under contract for the near future, so it doesn't make sense to select a guard in the first round. And moving on to what the New York Jets should do in the second round. Draft a linebacker. Now, as of now, the New York Jets currently have a need at the linebacker position, with Kwon Alexander still being a free agent, and who knows if the New York Jets are going to re-sign him. And in the second round, the New York Jets are going to have a prime position to take one of the top linebacker talents in this year's draft class, and there's even a chance that no linebacker is off the board when the New York Jets select in the second round. Some linebacker prospects that I really like include Trenton Simpson from Clemson, Jack Campbell from Iowa, Drew Sanders from Arkansas, and Dylan Henley from Washington State. Also, wouldn't mind the New York Jets drafting a safety in the draft because, like linebacker, we have a big need at the safety position. Just sadly for the New York Jets, this isn't a top-heavy safety class, but there is an outlier. Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. Now, I do feel like he's going to go late first round, but if he somehow sneaks into the second round when the New York Jets pick, this is a no-brainer move. But he's really the only safety that I'm comfortable with the New York Jets taking early in this year's NFL draft. Like safety and linebacker, the New York Jets also have a need at the center position because of April 13, 2022, we don't have a starting center on the roster. Now, the New York Jets have expressed interest in free agent center Ben Jones, and Connor McGovern, our starting center for the past 3 years, is still a free agent, so we could go the free agent route to address the center position. But if we want to find our next starting center through the draft, there are plenty of options that are going to be available in the second round. Some center prospects I really like include John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, Luke Weipler from Ohio State, Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin, and Steve Avila, guard center hybrid from TCU. And like linebacker, there's a chance that no center is off the board before 42 or 43. So the New York Jets could take whomever their number one center prospect is. And that right there would be the dream. I also don't think it would be a terrible idea to select an edge rusher in the second round. I mean, the edge talent that's going to be available in round 2 is absolutely insane. And we know the New York Jets love to have a deep edge rotation. And Carl Lawson and Bryce Huff are both on contract years. And who knows if they're going to resign next off season. So the New York Jets could potentially draft a replacement in the second round this year. I'm also a bit on the edge about drafting a wide receiver in round 2, and it's for the same reasons as it was in round 1. It's just, I feel like the New York Jets have better positions that we need to address in the draft, but if we want to add more firepower to this wide receiver room, and a Josh Downs or Cedric Tillman could add that firepower, I'm not going to sit here and complain. And as for the positions, I don't want the New York Jets to draft in the second round. Tight end, I mean, once again, it's not a need, and I seriously don't get why everyone's predicting the New York Jets to select a tight end early in this year's NFL draft. And I also don't think we should go with an offensive tackle early in the draft, because normally offensive tackles taken in the second round don't develop into the best players. I mean, sure, not all of them are terrible, and most end up nothing more than just solid players, but if the New York Jets want to find themselves a starting offensive tackle, you should do that in the first round, and not in the second round. It just makes more sense to select an offensive tackle in the first round than in the second round. But that's what directions I think the New York Jets should go in the first and second rounds. Let me guys know what you think down below, and I'm your host, Jet, signing off for now. See you guys later. Peace.